You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bakhtiari, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. You can follow me on Twitter at Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter at Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, on Spotify, on Google Podcasts. Wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers, the #1 Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for fans who know what happened. They want to know why and how. This episode of Locked On Packers is brought to you by our friends at McDonald's, proudly serving community since 1965. McDonald's has always been more than just a place to get tasty, affordable food. It's the official community center, the unofficial community center as well. A big thanks to our friends at McDonald's for always being there, and you know I'm loving it. We got some news on Monday from Matt LaFleur. Some big injury updates. The first and most important, David Bakhtiari is expected to return to practice this week. That has significant repercussions for this offense and this offensive line. And that is underselling it, right? I mean, this is not a non-obvious point to make. Getting back arguably the best left tackle in football, getting back one of the best offensive linemen in the league is a terrific thing for your offense. And Matt LaFleur was asked at his press conference yesterday what they get from empty. Essentially, why are you playing so much empty, right? This is something I wrote about today in The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. And what Matt LaFleur said was, in their system, there are empty calls and protections that allow them to get a chip and release. So you put Big Bob Tonyan at the number 3 on the trip side, he can hit the defensive end and then release, and you're giving your tackle a little bit of extra help. LaFleur admitted that there was a sack on the second drive. Robert Quinn sacked him on 2nd and 7 from empty, and Matt LaFleur said that caused him to wonder whether they would want to live in empty moving forward. I think that is a reasonable question for him to have asked, and guess what? They played most of their snaps after that from under center. So I don't think that is a coincidence. And I don't think the fact that they blew a couple of assignments on some 5-man protections, Royce Newman blew 2. I don't think that is a coincidence, because even if you get a chip, if your guard and your tackle cannot handle those end tackle stunts, you're going to be in trouble. And they were. And so, okay, why not go under center, pound the football with the run game, go heavy play action, and create opportunities for your pass protection that way? This is, you may recall, a question I have been asking for weeks. And so I hope that is a lesson that they were able to learn here. I understand completely why they did it, what the point was. This was our speculation all along, was that they were doing this to try and gain some sort of advantage in the pass protection game, right? That was the perceived goal. So now, how much does that change? How much does the success in this game, coupled with all of the success, of course, that they had last year, play into how they handle this offensive front moving forward? Is this now just, again, who they are? Big personnel, heavy play action, run game, shot plays, and then when you need to, on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12, you can spread out and do the Aaron Rodgers stuff that you need to do, that every team needs to do. No team is going to avoid 3rd and longs entirely. You can't play your whole game out of, the under center run game into the play action game. The San Francisco 49ers have tried it. There is a limit to how far you can get there. And the Vikings, by the way, their offense has been so effective precisely because they're able to get stuff in the drop back game. They're able to get Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen and those guys open in just the straight drop back game, in addition to the play action. So when David Bakhtiari gets back, that raises the question, what does the rest of this offensive line look like? Well, Josh Myers, another one of the nuggets that we got on Monday, Josh Myers is going to be out a couple weeks at least. with the knee injury. They don't think it is season ending. Usually, you can, there are on-field tests you can do for ACL. That doesn't rule anything out necessarily, but usually they can tell if it is. It's one of those things where if it is, they can often tell, like, oh, okay, if we do this, yeah, we're pretty sure that that's what you have. And if that test is negative on the field, so to speak, that doesn't mean that there's no damage, but that can be a pretty good indicator. They're hoping that is not long term, but a couple games at least, according to the head coach. So then where do you put these guys? Because there has been some speculation with Royce Newman getting off to a pretty good start early. He has been had more issues with the mental side of it lately, understanding slide protections and his assignments. He's a very good pass protector when it's just man for man. It's you against me, one against one. He's got great feet. He's got good hands. He's polished. He needs to get a little bit stronger. And he's not great in the run game, although he was a top 10 guard by run block win rate this week. He played really well, according to ESPN's charting, in the run game. But there was some speculation that Elgton Jenkins, when he comes back, would play center because of the way the guards had been playing if Josh Myers is hurt. Lucas Patrick was the Packers' highest graded player, not Pro Football Focus's highest graded player, although I believe he was. He was the Packers' highest graded offensive lineman. So if he's center is his best position. So I think at guard, he's a little overmatched physically. Center is his best position. He is a solid NFL center. He played last year like a solid NFL guard and did not this year. In the spring, in the summer, in training camp, in preseason, he was not a solid NFL player. He was a below average NFL player. First lost his job to Royce Newman, then lost his job to John Runyon Jr. But as a center for a couple weeks, he is a quality player. The question then becomes, what do you think your best five is? So Billy Turner, in this case, I think stays at right tackle. If you get David Bakhtiari back, he's obviously your left tackle. And then what do you do interior? Do you feel Newman and JRJ are playing well enough to leave them? And then you could put Elgton Jenkins in at center. Matt LaFleur said he'd need those reps. We may get some hints this week if that is in fact the case. Although Matt LaFleur did not rule out David Bakhtiari playing this week. Could be. You've got a very good Washington front, although their defense has not played well overall. We're going to have plenty of time to talk about what's going on with their defense. The answer is a lot. And it's not been very good at all. But you could also say, hey, Elgton Jenkins, right tackle. Billy Turner is now the right guard. Royce Newman, you've had some issues. This is just the best thing for the team moving forward. You could say Elgton Jenkins, left guard. John Runyon Jr., you're now going to play right guard. And that's the best five. I think at this point, there has to be some level of trust in Adam Stenavich and Matt LaFleur and this offensive staff to say, these are the best five guys. They're going to play, and they're going to let the competition sort this all out. And they've been able to do that. They've done it to this point, and they're going to need the help this week because this pass protection is going to be essential. This is a very good Washington front. And they faced very good fronts. This was a very good front in Chicago that they just faced. Matt LaFleur called it the best front they played all year. To this point, I'm sure the 49ers would feel like they're in that conversation too, but this is another really good one. And they've got a number of them coming up. Kansas City is a bit of a reprieve, but the Cardinals front is very good. They've got the Vikings front coming up here in a couple weeks. So a lot of interesting ways that they can put this package together. We'll see. I mean, I think we'll learn this week how they're going to do it. They're going to figure out, okay, whatever they go with this week, I think is going to be what you'll see moving forward, barring injury. And then once Josh Myers gets back, maybe some reshuffling needs to get done. If Elgton Jenkins is the center, definitely needs to be some reshuffling, because then you probably just kick him to left guard. But maybe this is the time to just say, okay, Elgton Jenkins, you're the right tackle. I don't know. There are so many options, and it's what Mike Wall said when he was on a couple weeks ago. This is a first world problem. This is a champagne problem because they have too many good offensive linemen to play, and that runs in stark contrast to what they had last year. Another injury update. Jair Alexander. He is progressing. They like what they're seeing so far. The scans show that the injury is healing. That doesn't mean that he 100% does not need surgery, but as I mentioned, from what I was told based on this injury, the healing is key. So if the injury shows that it is healing, then it is possible that they can let it heal on its own and it doesn't need surgery. If it's not healing, that's when you go to the surgery route. Now, that does not mean they're out of the clear here, but this is positive progress. Now, that doesn't mean a move is not possible. Now, I thought Rasul Douglas played really well on Sunday, albeit against, a quarterback who is, a neophyte in the NFL. He is very green, but I thought he handled his coverage responsibilities well. He tackled well. He played aggressively. He played downhill. He did everything you could ask we just got here cornerback in a defense that wants to contend for titles in a rivalry game. He did everything you could ask for him. Now, Kevin King, he is day-to-day. The shoulder injury, apparently not a long-term thing. I would be fine if Rasul Douglas is just the guy now. He is the guy until, Jair Alexander gets back, and then you get to make some decisions. Shannon Sullivan played well on Sunday, but there are some options out there. Kyle Fuller did not play very much on Sunday for the Broncos, and their season, they seem to be flagging a little bit. They beat, some borderline NFL teams early in the season. They sort of had a Big Ten schedule. They had that Wisconsin Badger schedule where they played, directional Idaho State. And then all of a sudden you start playing the big boys and things start to change a little bit. That's sort of been the Broncos season here. Maybe they try and get a pick for Kyle Fuller, who knows the system. Could be an option. Mike Sando at The Athletic had an executive suggest to him that Xavier Howard be a Packers trade target with the Dolphins season awash. That would require serious issues. I mean, I had an agent mention to me during the Stephon Gilmore stuff, hey, it's really tough for the Packers to bring in someone like Gilmore whose contract they'd have to rework when there are other guys on the team who are waiting for new contracts. Jair Alexander needs to get paid. Devontae Adams needs to get paid. And those are cornerstone players for you. I mean, especially at the same position, that gets a little dicey. That's why Kyle Fuller makes a little bit more sense. And while we're on the topic of players the Packers could acquire at a need position, Matt LaFleur did not give much on the timeline of Preston Smith other than to say he is working hard to get back. Whitney Merciless, released by the Houston Texans, is someone who could be looking for a title contender. He is coming off a major contract, so maybe the money is a little less important to him. And because he was released and isn't a trade player, the Packers could sign him to a contract that doesn't need to be reworked because he's signing a contract, right? With, the money spread out. So he's making whatever he's making this year, and you add void years to it so that you can get to the cap numbers that you need to get to this year and beyond. It is certainly something that I think would make sense for them. Certainly something that I think they will explore. And don't be surprised if by the time this comes out, we hear the Packers name connected with that player. This episode of Locked On Packers is brought to you by McDonald's, proudly serving community since 1965. McDonald's has always been more than just a place to get tasty, affordable food. It's an unofficial community center. It's a place where friends and families can come to reconnect, a place where classmates can meet up for a study group, knowing they'll have dependable Wi-Fi and endless supplies of French fries and McFlurries. Butterfinger McFlurry for me. Win or lose, it's a place where teammates, competitors, and the home team or the away team can come to recharge. It's a place you always look forward to stopping at on a long road trip to rest your legs and refuel. It was a place that I went a lot as a kid after games. It was always my go-to. Hey, I just want something delicious for lunch or for a snack. Just get the large soda and fries as you're going through. I just need a little pick-me-up. McDonald's was my go-to and continues to be my go-to. So head to your local's McDonald's to refuel and reconnect. Did somebody say Locked On Packers party? I'm loving it. And speaking of cheese, because I do love a cheeseburger, double cheeseburger at McDonald's for me. If you're like me, just about every day you stare into the cabinet going, why don't I have anything good in the house? If you're a cheesehead, you probably love cheese as much as you love the green and gold. You know how the best part of a grilled cheese sandwich is the cheese that melts off in the pan and gets a little crunchy? Well, Just the Cheese made a bar out of just that. That's why I started snacking on Just the Cheese. Just the Cheese brings you cheese, 100% cheese, no fluff, no filler, like you've never had it before, as a salty baked snack. It's cheese and crackers without the crackers, which means without the unnecessary carbs. My favorite is the jalapeno. My wife's favorite as well. You get the cheesy, the spicy, no complicated recipes or almond flour that makes you feel like you're eating a health food. Just natural cheese, baked until it's crunchy to give you the great taste of Wisconsin cheese with the crackle of a cracker. Find Just the Cheese, a great snack at Quick Trip. Support 2 local businesses all in one. Maybe pick up some Glazers while you're at it. That's Just the Cheese. Ross, thanks for coming back on the show. It is awesome to be with you. You are as diligent as anyone on Packers Twitter breaking down the tape. You had a tweet stream last night with the highlights and the lowlights as we look back on this game with the Bears. Anything specifically that stood out to you on second look? Because sometimes I know we can miss things, we can think things that were important turned out not to be, or things that we didn't miss that, and then you see it and you go, oh, that.
Yeah, on the positive side, just an outstanding performance from Aaron Jones, man. Like I was one of the guys. I'll put my hand up, fully admit it, that I thought, even with Kylan Hill, like you can take Aaron Jones's money, do something else with it, and a Kylan Hill can replace an Aaron Jones. Can he? I don't I don't know. I mean, what he was able to do from a blocking standpoint, from a pass receiving standpoint, obviously taking basically a check down at the 13-yard line, scoring the ball in a big spot. That was impressive. He ran it well too. He pass blocked well. Billy Turner kind of turned somebody loose right by the Packers goal line, and Aaron Jones picked him up. He fired it out to Adams for a slant or on a little comeback or for a first down. Also very impressed, honestly, with the coverage.
Yeah.
I think you look at some of the numbers and even the advanced numbers with Justin Fields, and you just go, well, he's not good yet, or he may never be good, but right now he's not good. There wasn't a whole lot of places for him to go with the football, and some of the completions he had were absolute dimes. And that's something that I mentioned online was I can't really get on Rasul Douglas and Eric Stokes for some of this stuff, because these are just perfect passes, and you tip your cap and you move on with your life. On the not so great note, Robert Tonyan, man, he has turned into a pumpkin, something fierce, and I'm not sure that there's I don't know what the answer is there, I guess, is what I'll say. The linebackers that aren't Devondre Campbell, woof. And also, we're really not that far away from wondering what is going on with Aaron Rodgers downfield.
Yeah.
Some like the throw to Lazard just kills me seeing it from the end zone view, because you can go look at my Twitter account at Ross Uglem. That's a kind of a double vertical stamp or concept where both guys are going downfield and left and right. And the Bears are in a single high look, paying all the attention in the world to Davante Adams. Rodgers not only has Lazard deep, he's also got him inside. So either miss short or miss inside, but he misses outside and long. I mean, there's just a lot of place for him to kind of fit it into a receiver that has the ability to sort of box out the defensive back, who also has won the route. I mean, he's got his guys stacked. And it's not a great ball. And you've seen a number of deep balls this year that have just not been great. And look, he's playing not at an MVP level. I don't think anybody would argue that. But, I mean, he's playing at a Pro Bowl level. He's playing good football. And he's just like this far away from elite football.
The downfield passing is something that Jake Morley and I have been talking about really from the beginning. And you just sort of, okay, well, he's nervous about the offensive line, but the pass blocking really has been pretty good all season. So yeah. I said it to you on Twitter when you posted that clip. I was like, why did he fade into the blocker? By the way, he had a pocket he could have stepped up in and ripped that throw if he wanted to. He faded left out of a clean pocket and then stepped in the bucket on the throw. Like
that was something that frustrated Packers fans, specifically like when he misses Jennings in the 2009 playoff loss to the Cardinals because he fires a laser instead of a rainbow. And that one, like that could have been a rip. That could have been a 30-yard rip to Lazard into the hashes, into the inside of the field. He had his man beat, and he had his man beat inside. He was good long, and he was good inside. That safety was never getting over there for all the
no, it could have been 6.
Right. And or at least 40, or 45.
Right.
And that's one where, like you said, if he steps up and he fires one of those like 08, 09 Rodgers laser bombs that they're really cool when they connect. It's like, man, a lot of quarterbacks have to kind of float that one in the air, and he just ripped it. If we got a Rodgers laser there, it would have been pretty cool.
So you mentioned the coverage. Are you done being mad at Joe Barry yet?
I mean, are we inside the 20-yard line or are we not? Where are we on the field?
No, I guess.
No,
but seriously, what have you seen from him? Because I know that you were highly skeptical of the hire, and early on, I think the defense made it pretty easy to be like, yeah, this is not working. And I think over time, like especially on a down-to-down basis, they've in fact exceeded my expectations given where they have been with injuries and all that stuff. I know they haven't played the best competition, but
well, and that's the thing, right? He's kind of the anti-Pettin. I think Aaron Nagler pointed this out, or somebody on Twitter. I think it was Aaron, but Mike Pettin used to just let you walk in between the 20s. Did not care. Then you got into the red zone, and they would play good, deep, good situational football. Joe Barry only allows 2 or 3 red zone trips, but you bet your ass you're getting into the end zone. I mean, there's no question about it. So they're sort of polar opposites of each other, and this is by some measures the worst offense in the league. So there's a little bit, but at the same time, I mean, you have to tip your cap to a guy when you are down I won't say your best 2 pass rushers, because I think Gary is probably one of the best 2 pass rushers on the team, if not the guy now. But you're down your top 2 paid pass rushers, and the guys
on the edge anyway. Kenny Clark deserves
right on the edge. On the edge,
I knew what you're saying.
You're down your top 2 paid edge rushers. You're down the best corner in football. Savage goes out. You got injuries in and out of the lineup at linebacker, whether it's Barnes going down for this or that or whatever, and you're missing Kevin King, who most fans are like good, but at some point it's Kevin King or Isaac Yiadom, and that's right. That becomes a problem. And you look at it and it's like,
and King played well last week. You have to give him credit. I've been the biggest King critic, but he played well last week.
He did. He did the one Kevin King thing where he was 13 yards off on 3rd and 6. And other than that, it was great. And I mean that. I'm not being sarcastic. I'm not being condescending. Like, it was great. So you have to be pleased and you have to be impressed that they've played good enough defense to be 5-1, because that's all that matters. And they've played good enough defense without, I mean, Mike Pettin had unbelievable injury luck, in my opinion, on the defensive side of the football. He had his dudes for most of his tenure, or at least most of his crossover with Matt LaFleur.
Right, 19 and 20.
They had really good injury luck on the defensive side of the ball, and ultimately were largely disappointing in a way that Barry has not yet been.
There's plenty of time. There's still, potentially playoff games. That was where Mike Pettin was most disappointing, as Dom Capers was as well. So as we try and figure out what to do with this offensive line now, David Bakhtiari is set to practice this week. If you were going to set the 5 based on what we've seen here, and what's interesting is Lucas Patrick played his ass off on Sunday, and that had not been the case really since.
No, he's bad against
like last year. He was bad in the spring. He was bad in camp and was bad in the preseason. But so how would you set the 5?
I'm not going to let one game change my mind on Lucas Patrick. Plus, honestly, I need Lucas Patrick to be ready to play left guard, center, right guard. With what's been going on and just injury luck, et cetera, et cetera. If I was setting the 5, and we're living in a David Bakhtiari world, which I really don't think they will on Sunday. I think he'll make his debut against Arizona potentially, but I'm not even. I don't even know if
on a short week. That's tough too.
Yeah, I don't even know if I'm convinced of that. It might be after Halloween. So I think I'm going Nijman, Runyon.
What do you mean Bakhtiari?
No. I'm talking about for the next 2 weeks. For the next 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah. But I'm asking, I guess what I'm asking is once Bakhtiari gets back, set the 5.
Oh, I think that's simple. Bakhtiari, and then you've got Runyon, and then you've got Elton, and then you've got Newman, and then you've got Turner. I think that's I don't think there's any question about it. I really don't. And I know, like, I've seen the idea of Patrick playing right guard over Newman or Patrick, but they would have done that already if they were going to do it, and they're not. There have been games when
Newman won that job.
Right.
That's asked and answered to me.
Yeah. And so you could, if you really are trying to get Newman off the field, which, look, there's tape that I mean, you can make that argument. That's
2
fine.
sacks where he just blew the assignment. There's that.
I think your best bet would be Patrick at center and Elton at right guard, because when Lucas Patrick plays center, I at least feel okay about it. When he plays guard, especially against like the DeForest Buckners and Eric Armsteads and the guys with long arms that get into you and rush the passer, he's 6'2" and some change with short arms, man. Like, I just don't need to see him play guard anymore.
Okay, so then does that mean when everyone is healthy, Elton Jenkins is the left guard, Bakhtiari is the left tackle, Josh Myers is the center, Billy Turner is the right tackle, who plays right guard?
Yeah, I would. I mean, if I was in charge, and I'm not, and honestly, I think Steno and LaFleur have probably just said, like, Royce Newman is our right guard forever, or until
I think that's right.
So, like, if it was me and you said, okay, you get to set the lineup, I would just ask Jenkins and JRJ what they want to do. Like, John, do you want to stay at left guard and move Elton to right guard, or do we put the all-pro back where he normally is, and John, you just have to do the right guard stuff? That's what I would do, because Runyon was MFing people in Chicago, man. He's a player, and he's definitely one of their best 5. But I fear that if everyone's back, I don't think they're going to bench Myers. I really, really, really don't. I think what's going to end up happening is you're going to end up with Bakhtiari and Jenkins playing next to each other, which is fine. It's great. 2 all-pros on the same side. Myers, Newman, Turner, and JRJ just becomes like the best 6th offensive lineman in pro football.
And it could be the case that this time next year we're talking about him as the starting left guard because Elton Jenkins is your starting right tackle.
Right. Because, and I wouldn't let Turner walk with the way he's playing, but financially there just might not be a conversation. You might have to have 4 guys on that line making no money with Bakhtiari making money, because Elton Jenkins isn't making money yet. And obviously, Runyon, Myers, and Newman are on mid-round rookie contracts that paying them peanuts.
So let me get you out of here on this, because we have not spent enough time on this show talking about this particular player, but he is finally starting to get some shine. Devondre Campbell. Hey. I mean, the guy has been unbelievable. And you mentioned that the non-Devondre Campbell linebackers have not been great, and not been great is the diplomatic way of talking about how they were on Sunday.
Yeah.
But what are you seeing from Devondre Campbell, and what is he bringing to this defense?
He's awesome, man. He stays so, and I get bothered, and I love Ben Fennell, and I love Andy, and I love a lot of these guys, but you break it
drag
down,
them, Ross.
Yeah, but you break down linebacker play, and like everything I see is a run fit. It's run fit. Cool. But 65% of NFL plays are passes.
Right.
So, like, I need to see the 65% that aren't Jalen Smith, Chris Barnes, or Oren Burks whiffing on a run fit. And I get that it's important. You need to be able to stop the run. Everybody remembers the NFC Championship game when Mike Pettin and that defense couldn't stop the run, and the inside backers were a big part of it. But I need to see the passing game. I need to see that. And I thought Jalen Smith did a good job blitzing. he did a decent job in coverage on running back and then just whiffed the tackle, which was unfortunate. But he had been good on passing downs against Dallas. But Barnes hasn't been good. Jalen Smith wasn't good. Summers has been an abomination, and Oren Burks has just flashes. There's no consistently. I wish they had an Antonio Morrison or somebody who just first and second down. We don't care if we're giving away what's going on. First down, we're bringing in this Haas who will fit the run next to Campbell, and then on second down and second and long and third down, Jalen Smith comes in, and that's just the deal, But they don't have Antonio Morrison right now. They don't have that guy. So right now, Devondre Campbell kind of has to be that guy, and I know he can't be responsible for 2 gaps, but he's been impressive. Stays clean. Is able to get off of centers and guards. He's able to make a tackle without getting drugged for 3 yards, which is pleasant. It's fun to watch. And honestly, too, he's decent in the open field. Like he's been good enough in coverage. I think he allows kind of a higher maybe percentage of throws to be completed that you'd see than you'd like to see. But Yak is non-existent. You catch the ball,
team, man. This whole team
turf.
tackles like it was the same. I don't know if you had the stat or someone else had the stat, but the combination of Douglas and Stokes allowed 3 yards after catch on Sunday.
Yeah, and Campbell has none of it too. And that's the Barry scheme. Love it or hate it, that's the Barry scheme. Okay, it's second
I love it.
It's 2nd and 8. We're gonna give you 3. We're gonna tackle you for a gain of 4, and now it's 3rd and 4. Can you convert 3rd and 4? Turns out, yeah, sometimes they can. And if they can't convert 3rd and 4, they'll convert 4th and 1. And I think that's where the frustration gets, especially getting in the red zone. You start giving up 6 on 1st and goal from the 8, and that's where the frustration kind of seeps in. But
it's also where you need your star players
to
create negatives. It's where you need your horses to say, okay, now it's 2nd and 12. Or it's 2nd and 10, from the 12 or whatever. Like those, that's what you need. And I think that's part of what you're seeing with the injuries is you're missing those opportunities. Situational football to me has always been about coaching and stars. You need to have those 2 things. And if you only have one, even that can be problematic. So Ross, this was awesome, man. We could do this all day. Can you let my listeners and now watchers on YouTube know where they can find more of your work?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the publisher of Packer Report. We are probably the longest running Packer-specific publication on earth, founded by Ray Nitschke in 1972. PackerReport.com, very easy. At Packer Report 66 on Twitter. We've got VIP stuff behind a paywall. We've got a ton of free content that comes out all the time. We've got video content constantly. We'll even just sometimes go live right on the Twitter feed. Just check us out. I promise if you're a Packer fan, you will enjoy what we do.
Formerly my boss, Ross, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I appreciate it.
All right. See you later, trader.
This episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing number of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts that you need. So why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questions and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brands their warehouse happens to carry? You have computers with access to Rock Auto at home and in your pocket. So save time and money when using Rock Auto. Why choose to spend 30%, 50%, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? RockAuto.com is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Go to RockAuto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck and write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know we sent you. And in life, we're all bound for different things. With beachbound.com vacations, you could be bound for adventure, bound for passion, bound for discovery, or bound for togetherness, bound for immersion, bound for rejuvenation, or maybe you're bound for encountering the unexpected. Personally, when I'm at a beach resort, I'm bound to end up at the poolside bar or maybe creating my own taco flight. As long as I've got a good view and a good drink in my hand, I'll be as happy as I can be. With beachbound.com, you can find the perfect beach vacation for you, no matter what you're looking for. What are you bound for? Visit beachbound.com today. All right, we're going to be back tomorrow. Lily Zhao on the show. Zhao, you doing Wednesdays? We've got opponent Thursdays, and then our live stream on Friday. Going to go live after the game on Sunday. It is Packers Washington this week. Washington football team. They are in the midst of an absolute disaster, a PR nightmare, and Dan Snyder should sell the team. That's just where it is. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, on Spotify, on Google Podcasts. Wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers. And anytime you want to hit us up on the Locked On Packers fan hotline, you can do that, 920-341-3775 to stay Locked On Packers.